So we'll get the ball rolling. It's got an agenda. Everyone's got an agenda, I hope. We've got various people happy to speak to us tonight, which is lovely. We'll just go through. I'm Peterborough Chairman of the Parish Council. Welcome along. We'll do apologies next. We've received apologies from Ian Stott, Head of Chambers, Graham Barradell and Kieran from the Parish Council, and Doug Dew, our County Councillor, and District Councillor David Mead, and I have got some written reports, certainly from Doug. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the annual parish meeting held on the 22nd of March 2021, which covered 2 years. I was reading back on it, because of course, and it was virtual, wasn't it? It was on Zoom, so anybody who attended, and we even had a child, didn't we? Heather's son, yes. Well, probably didn't appreciate being called a child at the time. He was the youngest person that had been there. You see. So, I don't know if anybody who was at the meeting and gave a talk had any comments on the minutes. They've been on the website probably for best part of a year. I think basically what people who give the talk let Nicola have a copy of it, and she puts it in the minutes, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm happy that they're kosher. If anybody's from the Assembly. Okay, so I'm going to propose that those minutes are... Oh, sorry,
I'll
Rob.
second that.
Thank you. Would the Assembly like to vote in favour of anybody who was here at last year's meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. They're carried. Right, the next thing here is the annual review of the Parish Council Business Chairman's report. That'll be me. Right, I've got a few words to say. So, and my little report goes like this. Last year's meeting covered 2 years, I've already said that, due to COVID, but this year's meeting only covers a year, so hopefully my report will be shorter. The Parish Council has continued to undertake its role and duties, but in the year that will end on the 31st of March 2022, there have been a couple of major achievements which I'd like to comment on. Firstly, as you're probably aware, there's been a 24-hour ban approved on HGVs along the B1040 by Cambridgeshire County Council, approved by Cambridgeshire County Council. This has been something that's been lobbied for in the village for a number of years, all the time I've been here more or less, and the success of the Parish Council's local highway initiative bid has been the culmination of all the work undertaken by various groups in the village over the period of that time. I'd like to thank everyone who has participated in whatever way they have over the years to help get this decision made. Hopefully, we'll see the ban implemented in the next 3 months. Secondly, the Parish Council was successful in securing a legacy grant from Highways England that allowed the work to be undertaken to repair the bank of the Wear along Gravely Way. The bank had been eroding over the years, and when this was highlighted a few years ago, it was clear there was going to be dispute over who owned the bank and who was responsible for repairing it, with costs in excess of £30,000 quoted for its repair. The main body of the work has been completed. There's some remedial work to be undertaken to look at surface water collecting on the road, and again I'm hopeful this will be concluded in the next 3 months. Parish Council business. The Parish Council is responsible for some of the street lighting in the village, maintenance of ponds, ditches, trees and grass cutting. Councillor Ian Stott must be thanked for his continued work regarding trees. Ian has been involved with the tree surveys on the green for more years than I'm sure he would like to remember, and has a knowledge of the tress, I guess that might be trees, around the village that is second to none. He is on the Green Open Spaces Committee and helps to manage the maintenance contract and look at other areas of work that needs tending to around the village. I'd like to thank our maintenance contractor for continuing his work during the year. Additional thanks go to Duncan McMichael for the additional work he has undertaken at times. I'm changing those so that when I send it to you, you'll have the actual words. There again has been some work carried out on easier to access trees by various councillors, saving the parish some expenditure. Special thanks must go to Graham Barradell, Vice Chairman of the Parish Council, for all the unpaid work he undertakes around the village, tidying and maintaining areas of the green and playground on behalf of the village. Thank you, Graham, for this, but you're not here, and your support over the year as Vice Chairman. Firework display was one of the best. Attendance was high, perhaps a reflection of people wanting to get out again after the couple of years of pandemic, And the Parish Council would like to thank the firework team for putting on a great show, Feast Week for providing refreshments, and councillors and volunteers for manning the event and collecting takings. As you'll be aware, the Parish Council also makes recommendations to Huntingdon District Council on planning applications via the Planning Committee. Myself and Graham attended meetings at the Local Development Planning Committee regarding development of land at the top of Church End under the Rural Exception Housing Scheme. The majority of parishioners who had expressed a view on this development had objected to it, and we presented that view to the committee. At the first meeting, the scheme was refused, but the applicant lodged an appeal threatening legal action against Huntingdonshire District Council, and at the second meeting this was approved despite it falling outside the council's policy requirements for rural exception housing. The Parish Council looked at seeking a judicial review, but the overall cost involved in this procedure was prohibitive, with no guarantee that the decision would be reversed. The Parish Council could have also been landed with the County Council or District Council's legal fees, and it was decided not to proceed. It is a pity that the housing development can be foisted on a small development, and clearly the parishioners who have expressed a view said that they don't want it. It is turning agricultural land into development, and it is outside the line of the existing development. We are not the only settlement to be affected in this way over the country, and I feel it's a shame as there is clearly only one beneficiary with no fault for the communities affected. Nicola continues to serve the Parish Council excellently in her role of a clerk. The Council recognises the work Nicola undertakes was difficult to complete inside the allotted hours, so agreed to increase those to 12 hours a week this year. Nicola has ensured the Council meets its legislative requirements, and at the beginning of the year ensured that requirements of online meetings were sorted and throughout the previous period of time. Councillors have been excellent over the year, and we're pleased to welcome Sarah Suckling as a councillor. As chairman, I've appreciated the support I've received from councillors and clerk alike over the year. I would like to thank them all for their hard work and time in serving the village throughout the year. I'd also like to thank County Councillor Doug Dew for his support in the LHI bid for the HGV ban and his support on matters regarding the planning application. That's my report. I now look forward to hearing from reports from the clerk and representatives of other groups from the village. I've got a couple or three to read out, but we'll space those in because you don't want to hear me banging on all the time. So we'll hand over to Nicola.
Okay, so as well as my role as clerk, I'm the responsible financial officer of the council, so I will be presenting the financial report. So as you may have noticed, we haven't reached the end of the financial year yet, so not only are the accounts incomplete, they are actually, they're also unaudited. So the precept remained the same, 30,600. The council received a large payment of £12,500 in return for granting a utilities easement across the green. The income from the bonfire night event was higher than expected. It was budgeted at £1,800 and came in at £2,320. The cost of payroll increased from £8,731 to £10,945, and that's due to the fact, as Peter just mentioned, that my hours have increased from 10 to 12, and it also includes pension contributions. The cost of maintaining the cricket outfield was quite high this year at £900. But there were ideal grass growing conditions last year, a lot of wet then sunny, so it meant that we needed additional cuts throughout the year. The council spent £365 on wood to replace the fence by the ditch near the pavilion, and £2,050 resurfacing the path from the church to Church Lane. On the management accounts, you'll notice that the subscriptions appear low for this financial year, but that's due to the fact that the CAPAP invoice was paid early in the previous financial year, so there was actually 2 invoices paid in one financial year. Utility costs have increased by just over £200. We do have a fixed cost tariff for the street lighting energy, but the energy from the pavilion has increased, and also the water, and there was 2 years worth of payments for the energy that the church paid for the street lighting in the churchyard. The council made several donations this year, not all of which were budgeted, including £95 to the community garden, £70 to the WI, £200 to Spectrum, and £60 to the Royal British Legion. As Peter mentioned, there was a significant legal spend of £1,000 for the solicitor's advice in the planning matter. The council received a grant from Living Sport for £1,464, which was used to purchase sports equipment for parishioners and also run activities on the green, and we had Tai Chi and Keep Fit. The reserves haven't been agreed by the council. You'll see on your projected reserves page there are 5 different reserves down there that are possibly going to be added to the earmarked reserves if the council is agreed. And that means that the general reserves are fairly low at £7,638, which, as I say, is lower than the agreed 50% precept. So in the next financial year, the council has resolved to increase the precept to £31,550, but because the tax base has increased from last year, it decreased, which made it look like we had an increase on council tax for the parish. That's increased again this year, and that's due to a decrease of properties in receipt of council tax. The calculation as to how you calculate tax base is quite complicated, but as I say, it then means that the effective precept increase that the parishioners are going to see on their council tax bill is 2%. Does anyone have any questions on the finances? Back to you then, Peter.
Thank you. Right, I'll do Councillor Dew's written report. So Doug has sent in a message. Unfortunately, he cannot make this evening's meeting and asks us to accept his apologies. His report for Hilton is budget and unspent. The new joint administration has set a balanced budget for the forthcoming year with just short of a 5% increase, with 3% of that allocated to adults and young people social care. Adults and young people. These areas continue to be the areas of greatest demand on the council services. Have long been underfunded, and it is hoped that the additional ring-fenced charge already mentioned will help in this area. Communities and social mobility and inclusion. There is a diverse committee that deals with many areas of social need throughout the county, also areas such as libraries, hostels for victims of domestic abuse, highways. Pleased to being able to support the village's aspirations to have the 7.5 tonne limit increased to 24 hours a day. I'm looking forward to it being implemented in the near future. Unfortunately, despite the fact that it looked otherwise, we still do not have a full-time highways officer allocated to the division. It's something I'm not happy about and have complained to the senior officers who are trying to resolve the issue, but there seems to be a shortage of highways officers in the country. There's vacancies if everybody needs one. A1307/A14. There are still some legacy problems to be dealt with, but these are being resolved slowly. Interestingly, many, if not most of the trees that have been planted along the new A14 appear to have died. The County Council recently passed a motion asking Highways England to sort this issue out. Flooding. I have pushed via the County Council, both Highways England and the Environment Agency regarding issues between Fenstanton and Hilton around the new A14. This is ongoing and taking far longer than I had hoped for. The County Council, as lead flood authority, has published its strategic flood plan, which should go to some way to assist matters in the future. And that is Doug's report. Yeah, I'm going to quickly do David's, our district councillor's report. Hi Nicola, I won't be at the meeting this evening as our prior engagement. However, please can you stress to anyone that needs to get hold of me that my mobile number is and my email address is. We're happy to help when I can. Right, so next on the list I have Hilton Town Trust, Malcolm.
Okay, well, perhaps if I stand and...
Well, would you like a chair?
No, I'm
chair.
quite facing it. It won't take long either. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Malcolm Lane. I'm one of the 2 nominees to the Trust, nominated by the Parish Council as a trustee. So, firstly, I'd like to just say thank you for nominating me last July. We've had about 2 meetings since then, and they're on Zoom. All our meetings at the moment are on Zoom. And also apologies from Phil Wood, who would perhaps have been here, I think would have been here as the clerk, but there's an immunosuppression problem, so he said, would I volunteer? And my arm is just recovering. If you don't know anything much about the Trust, it's quite historic. It goes back over 300 years, the Hilton Town Trust. and its present structure was defined in 1899 as a two-tier structure. So there is a Hilton Estate Trust and a Town Trust. So the Estate Trust is the senior one, and its objectives are firstly to fund the parish church and secondly to fund the Town Trust. So roughly money goes by, exactly half the money goes to the church and half to go to the Town Trust. So I'm going to talk about the Town Trust. And so we have an income as a Town Trust of about £5,000 a year. As I said, we have two trustees appointed by the Parish Council, 2 appointed by the church, and the chair of both charities is the vicar, David Busk. The trust objectives are for the benefit of the inhabitants of Hilton and their heirs. So it's quite a broad remit that we have. And what we've tried to do is to spend our money wisely, obviously. At the beginning of last year, we had about £20,000 in hand. And we had an income from the main charity of £5,000. We received interest on our investments of £2. The main grants we made during the year: Feast Week £2,000, the Community Garden £1,000, the Primary School for Outdoor Play Equipment £1,000, replacing the WI bench £700, and other miscellaneous donations of a total £400. So we finished the year with £20,862 in hand. So we do have money available for the benefit of the inhabitants of Hilton if suitable causes come up. So we're looking for ideas, and we do publish the details in Spectrum with a request for people to put forward ideas if they would like a grant from the Trust. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody got any questions for now? I'll put them on the spot there. Anybody got any questions for them? Thank you. Thank you. That was very good. It's a great little trust, isn't it? It helps a lot of groups throughout the village. Next, I for the Hilton Community Garden. I could bring your chair up.
Oh, you're very kind. That's fine. So for anybody who doesn't know me, my name's Aileen Merck, and I'm delighted to present this report on behalf of the Hilton Community Garden Group, which has gone from strength to strength this year. As many of you will probably know, this time last year we had just formed a committee, created our constitution, and through the great generosity of Dr. and Mrs. Randall, acquired a suitable piece of land for the garden. We were ready, willing and able, and ready to begin the process of creating what we hoped would be a beautiful space for everybody to share. So the past 12 months have been action-packed. As we got to grips with planning the garden, preparing the ground, it does seem that you can never do too much digging, and you can certainly never have too much mulch. Adding stock-proof fencing and beginning the exciting task of actually planting our first fruit trees, plants, bulbs, seeds, etc. And it was really rewarding to see the first fruits of our labours. Over the year, we've also been busy installing a much-needed shed, new wheelchair-friendly paths, a large fruit cage, and 3 sturdy trugs. Our mission has always been to be wildlife-friendly, so we've made it our policy to keep the garden chemical-free. We've also planted native hedging and created a bird feeding station, which has proved to have been so well populated that we are often in danger of running out of supplies. Bird boxes have been sited in amongst the trees, and currently we do have a blue-tip family in residence, and we've installed a small pond. Our gravelled seating area has taken shape and now boasts attractive benches, floral displays, and a lovely wrought iron sundial. As you can imagine, to achieve all of this has taken a great deal of hard work, but this has been undertaken with great enthusiasm and heart by all concerned, and we've learned along the way through sharing ideas and expertise as we strive always to get the best from the garden. We've organised working parties at regular intervals, and fortified by coffee, cake and laughter, we've really enjoyed seeing the transformation which has taken place. We're extremely grateful to the many individuals and organisations who have donated money, their time and a wide variety of useful items to the garden, which have enabled us to make such amazing progress this year. Special thanks go to our Chair, Heather Chambers, all members of the committee, past and present, and Dr. and Mrs. Randall, all of whom have continued to work tirelessly to help to make our vision become a reality. In response to one particular grant, we ran a hugely successful summer event last year to introduce the garden to the village, entertaining more than 40 families with a tree trail around the green, a variety of craft and planting activities and refreshments. We later organised an autumn event on similar lines, which included pumpkin carving, a treasure trail and autumn crafts linked to the garden. Both of these events have been very well received, and many people commented on the benefits that they felt the garden would bring to the village. We've also enjoyed visits from our local club group, 2 Duke of Edinburgh students, a team from the first organisation to offer us funding, who returned to see how the garden was progressing and to make a short film, which we hadn't realised was going to happen until the day. And most recently, Councillor Simon Bywater from Huntingdonshire District Council. All were most complimentary and felt that the garden had become a real asset to Hilton Village. So to the future, we're delighted by all that's been achieved this year, but are not resting on our laurels, nor indeed our spade handles, and future plans include the erection of a polytunnel to protect young plants, and the installation of another water feature in the form of a whisky barrel pond, as well as a plethora of planting and eventual harvesting. We are also planning an event to enhance Hilton's Jubilee celebrations, which will take place on Thursday, June 2nd from 2 p.m. So look out for more information on that, please. Finally, I do just want to remind everyone here, and to pass on the message as well, please, that the Hilton Community Garden is just that. In other words, it is your garden. We would love to see you anytime, whether you bring your wellies and spade to help with digging or planting, or prefer to sit and relax in peaceful surroundings with the sun on your face. All are welcome, and if you come on the right day, there might even be cake.
You've had a fantastic response, haven't you?
Yes,
lots. Yeah, really good.
It's been fantastic, it really has, and we've thoroughly enjoyed doing it as well, so
yeah,
great.
I know that
Great asset.
Nicola fills me when she goes down the Fake Auction.
Oh yes, yes.
The events.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hilton WI, Sue, are you okay?
Yeah, I think so. I'm so sorry, I have tested. I am not COVID. It's leftovers of cold from a month ago and it's already nuisance. Okay, so thank you for inviting me. Sorry? Yeah, I've got a copy. Yeah. So as President of Hilton WI, I welcome the opportunity to once again provide a report of our doings for the past year. Last year I reported that the National Federation of WIs had given each individual WI the flexibility to reduce their share of the annual membership. That was because obviously COVID had not had hit in and we weren't offering the full service. As a result, we were passing on the savings that Hilton WI had made during the period of lockdown in full to our members. So I was absolutely amazed and thrilled that all our members renewed their membership in April 2021. All 60 of them were on email, which gave us a strong base to continue keeping in touch with each other through this past year, either by monthly Zoom meetings, weekly tea time chats, fortnightly newsletters, or most recently with a return to face-to-face meetings. We of course had to stay flexible throughout the year. I'm sorry I've written an awful lot, but I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. We had to stay flexible throughout the year as occasionally a booked speaker succumbed to COVID. But we've had interesting talks about the must-see street in Cambridge, Papworth Brewery, Wood Green Animal Shelter. These were all on Zoom, and then talks in person from an author from the refill shop of Ikigai in St Ives, and from Adrian Arnold, who sailed around the world and is obviously known to some of you here in the village. We've held our AGM and Christmas party. Our summer outing had to be cancelled last year, so undaunted, we decided to travel independently in small groups to a local place of interest. In July, 10 of us enjoyed a guided tour by the head gardener of Burnley House to see his walled garden project. We plan to return this summer to see how it's progressed. I've mentioned the summer buffet. That was in the village hall in August, following all COVID regulations and safety precautions. In September, 3 of our members set up a sunflower trail throughout the village. The anagrams were quite a challenge and it was a long walk, but we had good feedback from many participants. Last year's National Federation resolution was a drive to increase awareness of ovarian cancer. In November, we ran an informative talk by an NHS specialist nurse, which was open to all the community and which raised £117 in donations for the Overcome charity. Supportive comments were appreciated from those local people whose lives have been affected by this silent killer. A Hilton WI tradition is the biannual trip to the Thursford Extravaganza. After having to cancel in 2020, over 50 members finally took the coach trip to Thursford in November 21. In December we had our Christmas party and ended up singing outside under the lovely Christmas tree. Our members stayed very involved and supportive of village life, taking part in the sports on the green last summer, in the pantomime at Christmas, and working in the community garden. In addition, one of our members, with the help of her husband, plants and maintains the lovely hanging baskets which bloom outside the village hall throughout the summer. Hilton WI funds this gift for the pleasure of the community. Our WI memorial bench had been vandalised some years ago and was no longer considered safe or suitable for use. However, Hilton Town Trust very kindly agreed to fund a replacement memorial bench, which was ordered and installed near the maze by the Parish Council. The original bench is now in the community garden, and both benches had plaques funded by the Parish Council. Thank you to them both for their generosity and support. Our regular monthly groups have restarted. We now meet in person for drawing group, craft club and book club. In October we launched a walking group. We got off to a slow start, but we have 5-mile walks planned each month through to October. That's open to anyone from the community. During the summer we held our Monday picnics on the green. It was obvious how much members enjoyed meeting informally, so when the weather became too cold to sit outside, we introduced a canasta club. The club meets twice a month and has been very successful, regularly attracting between 16 and 24 members. We've gained 6 new members in the past year, making a total of 66, which is wonderful. But now that Hilton WI is running as normal, we've had to increase our membership fee back to the pre-COVID amount. We think we offer great value for money, and we hope that most of our members will again renew their membership and continue their WI friendships. I'm not absolutely sure about that. I think we might lose quite a lot, but that's not in there. And finally, I'm delighted that by all the committee and members pulling together, we've survived the challenges that COVID threw at us to date, and I hope that Hilton WI will continue strongly into the future.
Thank you, Sue. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed
I'm
last
sure
year.
you did.
I did last year. I was sitting there listening to you, and I just learned so much more about what the
We do
WI
an awful lot. Yeah, we do. Yeah. And we keep on trying to think of new things.
So I thought I'd change my name to Brenda and come along.
You're very welcome.
Next up is the Margaret and Julie want to talk to us about Royal British Legion and the Poppy Appeal, I believe.
Right, Fenstanton and Hilton Royal British Legion. Originally, Fenstanton and Hilton Royal British Legion was a sub-branch of St Ives, our Royal British Legion, but after reorganisation we now come under Cambridgeshire umbrella. I can email you this.
Oh, wonderful.
Should have said before. We are extremely small in number, so do not have a committee. but Margaret and I do attend St Ives branch and women's section meetings. Even so, if you join Fenstanton and Hilton RBL, you can also join St Ives or any other branch without any further cost. The annual membership is just £17. Just to clarify, you do not need to have been a member or be related to a member of the Armed Forces to join the Royal British Legion. Similarly, you do not need to be a member of the Royal British Legion to be a poppy appeal collector. Very grateful to our wonderful collectors, by the way. Support activities of the Royal British Legion in this area include supporting